Ryan sat in the pilot seat of his small ship as it drifted through the quiet dark of unexplored space. For weeks he had been following signals that came from a sector few humans had ever visited. His mission was simple. He was a scout, tasked with exploring new worlds, collecting data and returning to the fleet with charts and information. Many explorers worked in groups, but Ryan preferred to travel alone. Solitude sharpened his focus, and in silence he felt free. When the ship's sensors caught the trace of an oxygen-rich planet, he leaned forward with interest. Clouds covered most of its surface, and below them he saw endless green. It looked wild, thick with forests and rivers. Ryan marked it on his chart and prepared for landing. His heart raced, as it always did before stepping onto an unknown world. Every planet was a mystery, and mystery was what he lived for. The descent was rough. Winds shook the vessel as it broke through the atmosphere. The ship groaned, but Ryan controlled it with steady hands. Finally, the ship landed in a clearing surrounded by tall trees with crimson leaves that swayed as if whispering in the wind. The air outside shimmered with strange scents. When the hatch opened, Ryan stepped down and took his first breath. The air was fresh, cool, and sharp with a hint of sweetness. He scanned the forest floor. Strange flowers grew in clusters, their petals glowing faintly in the shadows. Birds with long tails flashed between the trees, leaving trails of light behind. Every sound echoed with life, and every step felt like crossing into a living world untouched by humans. Ryan recorded his impressions into his datapad and began walking deeper into the forest. Hours passed as he collected samples. His pack grew heavy with leaves, soil, and crystal-like stones that pulsed faintly when held. Ryan crouched near a stream, letting the cold water run over his fingers. Then he froze. Across the stream, half hidden by ferns, stood a figure watching him. At first he thought it was an animal. The figure was tall, with pointed ears rising above its head and furred tails swaying behind. But then it stepped forward. It was no ordinary creature. It was humanoid, with sharp amber eyes that glowed in the dim light. Its face bore fox-like features, long snout, whiskers, and sharp teeth. Yet its stance was upright, its form strong and graceful. The figure carried a spear of carved wood tipped with stone. Ryan's pulse quickened. This was no beast. This was an intelligent being. The figure crossed the stream with swift movements and landed silently before him. Ryan slowly raised his hands to show he carried no weapon. He wanted to speak, but his translator device was slow, and he knew he might not be understood. The being narrowed its eyes and circled him. "You trespass," it finally spoke, voice sharp and accented. The words were not perfect, but they were clear enough. Ryan opened his mouth to explain, but the being did not wait. With sudden speed, it lunged. The spear stopped inches from his chest, but its other hand grabbed his arm. Before he could react, sharp teeth sank into his skin. Pain shot through him. He gasped as heat spread from the wound. The bite was deep, and he could feel something entering his blood, burning like fire. The being released him and stepped back, watching closely. Ryan staggered but did not fall. He pressed his hand to the bite. His vision blurred, then sharpened in a strange way. He could hear the heartbeat of the creature before him, fast and steady. He could smell the sap of trees miles away. His senses stretched beyond human limits. The Vulpine woman tilted her head, clearly expecting him to collapse. Her tails flicked in surprise when he remained standing. She spoke in her own tongue, words too quick for his translator to catch. Then she stepped closer again. Her spear lowered, but her eyes fixed on him with curiosity. Ryan's chest heaved as he tried to steady himself. "I mean no harm," he said slowly, hoping his voice would be understood. "I came to explore, not to fight." The woman gave no reply. Instead, she touched his arm where her bite had marked him. Her fingers traced the wound, and her expression darkened. She looked almost confused, even unsettled, as if something had not gone as she expected. Suddenly, voices echoed from the forest. Shapes moved between the trees. More of her kind appeared. Tall, fox-like beings, men and women, carrying spears and bows. They surrounded Ryan in a tight circle, their eyes glowing with suspicion. The woman who bit him spoke to them quickly. Ryan could not follow their language, but he caught the tension in their tones. Some pointed at him, demanding something. Others studied him with narrowed eyes. Ryan stood firm, though his legs trembled from the strange energy flowing inside him. He did not raise his weapon, for he knew it would mean death. Instead, he met their eyes one by one, showing he was not afraid. The Vulpine woman finally raised her hand, stopping the others from striking. She barked a command. The circle loosened, though their weapons did not lower. She pointed her spear toward the forest path and gestured for Ryan to follow. Ryan knew he had no choice. He walked where she directed, surrounded by warriors who watched his every move. The wound on his arm throbbed, but instead of weakening, he felt stronger with every step. His vision sharpened, and every sound in the forest was clear to him. The path led to a village built high among the trees. Wooden bridges stretched between massive trunks, and homes were carved into the living wood. Fires burned in stone pits, and children with fox-like ears peeked from behind woven doors as the warriors escorted the human through their home. The people stared at him with wide eyes. Some whispered in fear, others in awe. Ryan realized he was likely the first human they had ever seen. The warriors brought him before a large platform where elders sat. They were older than the rest, with silver fur streaking their faces and tails. The Vulpine woman stepped forward and bowed her head to them, speaking in sharp words. She showed them Ryan's wound and explained what she had done. The elders leaned closer, studying him with interest. They whispered among themselves, their voices low. Ryan stood silently, trying to read their expressions. He did not know what fate awaited him. Finally, one elder rose and approached. He touched Ryan's arm near the wound, then looked into his eyes. There was no fear in the elder's gaze, only wonder. He spoke a single word that made the others murmur. The Vulpine woman looked at Ryan again. Her amber eyes no longer burned only with hostility. Now they carried something else, curiosity, and perhaps the first spark of respect. Ryan realized the bite had changed something, not just in him, but in them as well. Whatever they expected had not happened, and now both sides faced a mystery neither could ignore. The night fell over the village as the torches were lit. Ryan sat under watch, his arm bandaged in strange herbs, his mind restless. He was no longer just an explorer on a strange planet. He was a puzzle to these people and to himself, and though he did not yet understand it, the bite had begun a story far greater than he had ever imagined. The night in the Vulpine village was alive with whispers. Fires burned in circles, throwing sparks into the sky. Shadows of tall figures danced on the walls of tree homes as villagers gathered to speak of the stranger. Ryan sat on a wooden bench in the center of the village, his arm still aching from the bite. His wound was covered with herbs and cloth, yet beneath the bandage he felt a strange heat, not painful but strong, pulsing with his heartbeat. The woman who had bitten him stood nearby. Her spear rested against her shoulder and her amber eyes never left him. The villagers called her Vera, though Ryan only caught the name from the way others addressed her. She looked at him as if waiting for him to collapse, yet he did not. Hours passed and he grew no weaker. In fact, he felt sharper, more aware. His hearing picked up the smallest rustle of leaves. His sight stretched farther into the night than ever before. The elders of the village sat together in a circle, watching both him and Vera. They spoke in low tones, their language quick and hard for his translator to follow. Every so often their eyes flicked to him, their expressions torn between suspicion and wonder. Ryan tried to stay calm. He knew he was outnumbered. He also knew that fear would only make things worse. He sat still, showing no sign of aggression, waiting for their judgment. Finally, one elder stood. His fur was streaked with silver, and his tails moved slowly behind him. He walked toward Ryan and placed a hand on his shoulder. The elder's eyes narrowed as if searching deep inside him. Then he spoke a single word in his language. Ryan's translator gave the meaning after a pause. Changed, the villagers murmured in surprise. Some stepped back. Some leaned closer to see him more clearly. Ryan felt his skin crawl under their stares. He did not know what they meant, but he felt the truth of it inside. The bite had not poisoned him. It had altered him. Vera frowned, her sharp features tense. She stepped toward the elder and spoke quickly, her words full of doubt. She pointed at Ryan, then at the wound, as if demanding answers. The elder shook his head and replied in calm tones. The exchange left her unsettled. Ryan finally spoke. I do not understand your customs, but I mean no harm to you or your people. I came here to learn. His words were plain, and his translator repeated them with care. The villagers listened but gave no reply. Only Vera met his eyes. For a moment he thought he saw conflict there, as if she was unsure whether to hate him or respect him. That night they placed him in a hut near the edge of the village. 2 guards stood outside watching closely. Inside, Ryan lay awake on a woven mat staring at the wooden ceiling. His body burned with energy. He could not rest. He heard every sound of the forest beyond the village. He smelled the smoke of fires, the scent of cooking meat, the musk of fur from those outside. His senses were no longer human. Ryan pressed his palm against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart. Something inside him had changed forever, and he knew it was because of Vera's bite. Morning came, and the village stirred with life. Children ran across bridges carrying baskets of fruit. Hunters sharpened their weapons. Smoke from cook fires rose high above the treetops. Ryan stepped outside, and immediately every eye turned to him. The guards followed as he moved, ensuring he did not stray. Yet none tried to stop him from looking. He walked to the edge of the village where the forest spread wide and endless. He could hear creatures moving in the undergrowth, far away but clear to his ears. A bird flew past, wings beating fast, and he could count every beat as if time itself had slowed. Vera appeared beside him without sound. She studied him with sharp eyes. "You stand strong," she said in broken words. "The bite? It does not kill you," Rian turned to her. "You expected it to kill me?" Her ears twitched. "Yes, it should have. Always before it brings weakness, sleep, then death." "No one lives," Rian's stomach tightened. "Then why did you bite me?" Her tails swayed. "You were stranger. You walked into forest. I thought you threat. My bite shows truth, but you are not truth, I know." Ryan studied her expression. She was not only puzzled, but disturbed. It was as if his survival had broken some rule of her world. Before he could answer, shouts came from deeper in the village. A group of hunters approached, their steps heavy, their faces hard. They carried spears and bows, and their eyes burned with hostility. They stopped before Rian and Vera, forming a line. The leader, taller than the rest, pointed at Ryan with his spear. "He is danger," the translator whispered after catching the words. "He should not live." Ryan raised his hands, palms open. "I have done nothing to you." The leader spoke again, voice sharp. "The bite test is sacred. None may survive. He is not one of us. He is cursed." The hunters moved closer, but Vera stepped in front of Rian. Her spear lowered to her side, not raised to strike, but enough to block their advance. Her voice rang clear as she argued with the leader. Though Rian did not understand every word, he knew she was defending him. The hunters growled, their tails lashing in anger, but they did not attack. At last they pulled back, though their eyes promised that the matter was far from settled. Rian exhaled slowly. "They want me dead." Vera looked at him. "Yes, many fear you. They fear change. They fear what they do not understand." Rian nodded. "I did not ask for this, but I cannot undo it." She studied him for a long moment, then finally said, "You must prove worth. Only then will they stop." The day passed with tension in the air. Ryan helped carry wood, though the villagers watched him with suspicion. Children peered from behind their mothers, curious but shy. Every step he took was followed by whispers. Some eyes burned with fear, others with awe. That night, as the village gathered again, Ryan felt the change within him growing stronger. His senses sharpened even more. His muscles felt ready to spring, his reflexes quicker than thought. He was becoming something not fully human anymore. He sat alone at the edge of the village, staring into the forest. The moonlight cast silver on the leaves. Suddenly he heard a growl from beyond the trees. His head snapped up. The sound was far, yet he heard it clear as if beside him. A shadow moved in the dark. Huge, heavier than the Vulpine people. The growl came again, deep and hungry. The guards did not hear it yet, but Ryan did. He stood, body tense. Vera appeared again, her eyes narrowing. She followed his gaze into the forest. "You hear something?" she said softly. Ryan nodded. "Yes, something is coming." The guards finally noticed the movement, but too late. From the trees burst a massive beast covered in dark fur, its claws long as blades. It roared, shaking the air. The villagers screamed, grabbing weapons, rushing to defend their homes. The beast charged, smashing through wooden fences. Hunters threw spears, but the monster swept them aside. Children cried as mothers pulled them back. Rian felt his blood surge. Without thinking, he rushed forward. His legs carried him faster than ever before. He seized a fallen spear and met the beast head-on. The monster's claws slashed, but his body moved with speed that shocked even himself. He dodged and struck the spear into its side. The beast roared in rage and swiped again. Ryan rolled away, every sense guiding him like instinct. He leapt onto its back, driving the spear deeper. Hunters stared in disbelief as the human fought with the strength and reflexes of their kind. Feyre joined the battle, her spear flashing. Together they struck again and again until the beast finally collapsed, its roar fading into silence. The ground shook as its body fell. Silence followed. The villagers gathered, staring at the fallen beast, then at Ryan. Their eyes no longer held only fear. Now there was awe, even respect. Ryan dropped the spear and breathed hard. His heart thundered, but his body still burned with power. He looked at Feyre, who stood beside him, her chest heaving. Her amber eyes met his, and for the first time there was no hatred in them. "You fight like one of us," she said quietly. Ryan answered, voice steady. "No, I fight like a human, but maybe now you see what that means." The villagers whispered among themselves. The elders watched with new eyes. Ryan knew the fight was not over. The bite had changed him, and with it everything between him and this world. The village was quiet after the beast's fall. Its massive body lay at the edge of the clearing, still and broken, while the hunters gathered around to confirm it was dead. The children who had cried in fear now stared with wide eyes, whispering to each other about the human who had fought like no outsider ever had. The elders stood together, their faces unreadable, but Ryan could feel their attention heavy on him. He sat on a stone, catching his breath. His muscles ached, but not in the way he knew from before. They ached with power, not weakness, as if his body was still adjusting to this new strength. His senses had guided every strike, every movement, and he had survived where he should have fallen. Feyre stood near him, her amber eyes fixed on his face. She had fought beside him, and though her chest rose and fell quickly with the memory of battle, she looked calmer than the rest. Her spear rested against the ground, her hand firm around it. The silence of the village broke when the hunters who had earlier demanded his death stepped forward. Their leader, the tall one with sharp eyes, pointed his spear at Ryan. His voice carried anger and suspicion. The translator whispered the meaning into Ryan's ear. "He is danger. The beast came because of him. He is cursed. He should leave or be ended." The crowd stirred. Some villagers nodded, fear clear in their eyes. Others shook their heads, murmuring about how Ryan had saved them. The voices rose, clashing like waves against rocks. Ryan stood slowly, meeting the hunter's gaze. "I did not bring the beast. I helped you stop it." The translator echoed his words, though the crowd's voices did not quiet. The hunter sneered. "You fight like us. You are not us. That is worse. You are mistake. Mistake must be undone." Feyre stepped between them. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the noise. She spoke fast in her own tongue, pointing at the beast's body and then at Ryan. Though Ryan could not follow every word, he understood her meaning. She defended him. The leader snarled, his tails lashing. He answered with fire in his voice, then gestured to the crowd. Some hunters raised their weapons in agreement. Others hesitated, looking uneasy. The elders raised their hands, and silence returned. The silver-furred elder spoke, his tone calm but heavy with authority. His words flowed slowly, and the translator caught them with care. "The human stays. For now. His survival is sign. We must learn what it means. But he is watched." The crowd murmured, some pleased, some angry. The leader lowered his spear, but his eyes burned with promise. The matter was not over. That night the village was restless. Fires burned late, and voices rose in quiet arguments across the bridges and huts. Ryan sat outside his shelter, staring at the stars through the trees. His thoughts were heavy. He had wanted to explore, to learn, to chart the unknown. Instead, he had become part of a conflict he did not understand. Feyre approached, silent as always. She sat across from him, her spear across her lap. For a time she said nothing, only studied him. Finally she spoke. "You fight as if born with bite, but you were not." Ryan looked at her. "I do not know why I survived. I only know that I did. And now I am." Different, her ears flicked. "Different is not welcome here. Our people fear what does not fit. And you?" Ryan asked. "Do you fear me?" She was quiet for a long moment. Her amber eyes met his, sharp and steady. "I feared. Now I watch. I do not know what you are. Prey, warrior, or something else." Before he could answer, a shout rose from the forest. The sound of horns followed, deep and urgent. Hunters scrambled from their huts, grabbing weapons. The elders shouted orders. Ryan stood quickly, heart racing. Feyre's ears twitched. "Raiders," she said. "Not beast. Enemy tribe." From the darkness of the trees came figures with glowing eyes. Fox-like but marked with black fur and painted faces. They carried burning torches and crude weapons of bone and stone. Their cries filled the night as they stormed the village bridges. The villagers rushed to defend their homes. Arrows flew, spears clashed, fires spread across the wooden platforms. The raiders howled as they pressed forward. Ryan grabbed a spear and joined the fight without thought. His senses flared, guiding his every move. He parried a strike, countered, and sent an enemy sprawling. Another rushed him, and he moved faster than he believed possible, striking with precision. Vera fought beside him, her movements swift and deadly. Together they held the bridge, keeping raiders from pushing deeper into the village. Her spear spun with grace, striking enemies down, while Ryan's raw strength broke their lines. But the raiders were many. The leader of the hunters, who hated Ryan, shouted orders to his own fighters, keeping them away from the human. He did not want Ryan to prove himself again. This left parts of the village undefended. Fires spread, screams rising. Ryan saw a group of raiders rushing toward the children's huts. His blood surged. He broke from the bridge and ran, faster than any could follow. His body moved with instinct beyond reason. He grabbed one raider by the arm and hurled him into another. His spear struck true, dropping a third. The children were pulled to safety by their mothers as Ryan fought like a storm. The villagers watched in shock as he stood against wave after wave. His body burned, but he did not fall. His senses told him where each strike would land before it came. His reflexes carried him through the chaos. He fought not for glory, but to protect. Finally, with the combined strength of the hunters and Ryan, the raiders were driven back into the forest. Their cries faded into the night, leaving the village scarred but standing. Fires were put out, wounded tended. The villagers gathered once more in the central square. Their eyes turned to Ryan. He was bloodied, his clothes torn, but his stance strong. Vera stood beside him, her face unreadable, though her eyes carried a glint of respect. The elder spoke, his voice carrying over the silence. The human fought as one of us. He saved our children. He saved our homes. What say you now? The crowd murmured. Many nodded, their fear turning to gratitude. But the hunter leader stepped forward, anger in his voice. He is still not us. He is danger. He changes what should not change. Today he fights for us. Tomorrow who will he fight for? The villagers murmured again, torn between gratitude and fear. Ryan felt their eyes weigh on him like stones. He wanted to speak, but he knew words might not be enough. Vera raised her voice. He stood when others faltered. He fought when others turned away. Without him, many would be dead. If this is danger, then it is a danger we need. The crowd fell silent. Her words carried weight, for she was known as a fierce warrior. The elders exchanged looks. Finally, the silver-furred elder spoke. The human stays. Not as prisoner, as guest. His path is not finished here. The villagers bowed their heads, though not all in agreement. The hunter leader glared at Ryan with hatred, then turned away, his tails lashing. As the night grew quiet again, Ryan sat by the remains of the fire. His body ached with exhaustion, but his heart was restless. He had fought, he had survived, he had saved lives. Yet still many doubted him. Vera sat across from him, silent for a long time. Then she spoke. You are more than they believe. But your fight is not over. It is only beginning. Ryan looked into the flames, his thoughts heavy. He had come to explore a world. Now he had become part of it. A clash of trust and fear surrounded him, and he knew that the bite had started something far greater than either he or Vera had ever expected. The night passed with the village repairing its wounds. But in the shadows, the hunter leader whispered with others who shared his doubt. Plans formed in secret. Ryan had won battles, but peace was still far away. The morning after the raid was heavy with smoke and silence. The village bore scars from the night before. Bridges had been burned, huts broken, and the scent of ash still hung in the air. Yet the people moved with purpose, repairing, carrying, and tending to the wounded. Children clung to their mothers, their wide eyes still full of fear. Ryan stood near the remains of the beast from days before. Its body had been dragged to the edge of the forest, its hide already stripped for use. He touched the rough skin, remembering the battle. His hand tightened around the memory of the fight with the raiders, too. He had shed blood for a people not his own. Still, many looked at him with doubt. Vera approached, her steps quiet. She carried no spear this time, only a small satchel of herbs. Her expression was unreadable. She handed him a cloth soaked in bitter liquid. "4 wounds," she said simply. Ryan took it with a nod. "Thank you." She studied him as he pressed the cloth against his arm. "You fight harder than any human should. My bite should have ended you, but instead it gave you strength." "Why?" Ryan sighed. "I do not know. My body feels different now. My senses, my reflexes, everything is sharper, but I cannot explain it." Vera's eyes narrowed. "There is more to this. Elders must speak." Before Ryan could answer, a horn sounded. The villagers gathered once more in the central square, called by the elders. Fires burned in the stone pits, casting long shadows across the crowd. The elders sat in a circle, their silver fur catching the light. The silver-furred leader raised his hand and silence fell. He spoke slowly, his voice heavy with age and authority. The translator took time to catch every word. "Long ago, before memory, our people were not alone. Strangers from the stars walked these forests. They came with fire, with machines, with power. We feared them, but we also learned from them. They tested us and we tested them. In those days, the bite was trial. It was way to know if stranger was meant to be. None passed. None lived. So we closed our world and no stranger came again." The elder's eyes turned to Ryan. "Until now," the crowd murmured, voices rising like wind in the trees. Some whispered in awe, others in fear. The hunter leader stepped forward, his face hard. "This is no sign. This is curse. The human is not chosen. He is mistake. He brings danger to us all." The elder shook his head. "Mistake does not survive what all others failed. He is sign. The old words speak of one who endures the venom, one who carries both strength and change. It is said such a one may bridge what is broken." Vera's eyes widened, though her face remained still. Ryan felt a chill run through him. He had not come for prophecy. He had not come to be a bridge between species. He had come as an explorer. Yet here he stood, pulled into a story older than himself. The hunter leader raised his voice again. "Bridge or curse, he is not us. He cannot stay. His presence divides us. Already raiders grow bold. Already beasts stir. This is because of him." The crowd shifted, some nodding in agreement, others shaking their heads. The air was thick with conflict. Ryan stepped forward. "I did not ask for this. I did not come to harm you. But I will not run from what has happened. If I can help you, I will." The translator carried his words, and the villagers grew quiet. For a moment only the crackle of the fire spoke. The elder finally raised his hand again. "Then help you shall. But know this, human. If you are truly the one who endures, your path will not be easy. You will face fear, doubt, and test, not only from enemy, but from those here." Ryan nodded slowly. "I understand." The gathering ended, but whispers followed Ryan everywhere he walked. Children peeked at him with wonder. Hunters eyed him with suspicion. Mothers pulled their little ones close when he passed. Some gave him fruit or water as thanks. Others turned away. Later that day, Ryan walked with Vera to the forest edge. She moved with her usual quiet strength, but her gaze was thoughtful. "You heard the elder," she said. "The words of old say you are chosen. Do you believe?" Ryan shook his head. "I do not know. I do not believe in prophecy. I only believe in choice. I choose to stand, to fight when needed, to protect. If that makes me chosen, then so be it. But I'm only human." Vera studied him. "Human. You speak that word as if it is weight. Perhaps it is." Before Ryan could answer, movement stirred in the trees. He heard it before she did, his senses sharper than hers. He held out his hand, signaling her to wait. A shadow slipped between the trunks. Then another. Vera's spear was in her hands at once. From the forest stepped figures of the rival tribe, the same black-marked raiders who had attacked before. But this time they did not shout or charge. They walked slow, cautious, weapons lowered. At their front was an older warrior, his fur dark and scarred. He raised one hand, showing peace. The village hunters arrived quickly, surrounding Ryan and Vera. Tension filled the air. But the elder soon appeared, called by the noise. He stepped forward and spoke to the scarred warrior. Their voices were sharp, quick, almost like two rivers clashing. The translator whispered broken words into Ryan's ear. "They speak of balance, of danger, of human." The scarred warrior pointed at Ryan. His words were clear even without translation. "He carries the venom. He lives. This is not right. He must not be left here. His blood will spread change. Change will break us all." The elder stood tall. "Change is not curse. Change is future. You fear what you do not understand. The raider snarled but did not attack. His eyes locked on Rian, filled with warning. If he stays, the forest will burn. Remember this. Then he turned and vanished into the trees, his warriors following without a sound. The villagers whispered, unsettled. The hunter leader smirked, as if the raider's words had proven his point. Ryan felt the weight of every gaze on him. He was not only a stranger now. He was a symbol, and symbols divided as much as they united. That night, Ryan sat alone, staring at the stars. The sky above was wide, endless, filled with light from worlds far beyond. He thought of his fleet, of the maps he had meant to bring back. He thought of how simple his mission had been compared to what he faced now. Vera joined him, sitting in silence for a time. Finally, she spoke. When I bit you, I thought you weak. I thought you would fall as others did. Instead, you stand. I do not know if you are chosen, but I know this. You are not prey. You are not mistake. You are something I cannot name. Rian looked at her, her amber eyes glowing in the firelight. Maybe I am just a human, but sometimes being human is enough. She tilted her head. Perhaps. The days that followed were uneasy. The village rebuilt, but tension grew. Some came to Rian for help, asking him to carry logs to fight off wild beasts to train the young. Others avoided him, muttering that his presence was curse. The hunter leader watched him with cold eyes, waiting for a chance to strike. One evening, the elders gathered Rian and Vera. The silver-furred elder spoke, his voice heavy. The words of old say the one who endures must face the true test. It lies beyond the forest in the caves of fire. If you pass, you prove you are bridge, not curse. If you fail, the question ends. Rian listened quietly, his heart steady. And if I pass? The elder's eyes gleamed. Then both tribes must accept you. Then change begins. Vera's grip on her spear tightened. This path is death, she said. The elder looked at her calmly. Or life. But it must be walked. Ryan nodded. Then I will go. Not because of prophecy, not because of fear, because it is the only way to end this. Vera studied him with sharp eyes. At last she said, Then I will go with you. The fire crackled between them, its light painting their faces. In that moment, Rian knew the path ahead was darker than anything he had yet faced. But he also knew he would not walk it alone. The sun rose over the forest village, painting the trees with gold and amber. The air was cool and filled with the scent of pine and smoke. Birds sang, yet the village was tense. Word had spread of the upcoming journey to the caves of fire. Every villager knew that the path was dangerous, and only the one who endured the bite could face it. Ryan stood outside his hut, stretching his arms. His muscles were still sore from the recent battles, but he felt more alive than ever. The energy within him pulsed, steady and strong. He could hear the rustle of leaves far in the forest, the whisper of running water, and even the soft footsteps of children across the wooden bridges. His senses were sharper than any human should have, yet he remained calm. Vera approached, her steps silent. She carried her spear and a small pack with supplies. Her amber eyes met his, steady and unwavering. The path begins today, she said simply. Ryan nodded. I am ready. Are you? She tilted her head slightly. I am. But remember, what waits is not beast or raider. It is test of mind, body, and spirit. Many have tried and failed. You survived the bite, but this is choice. Rian clenched his fists. I know, I cannot fear it. I will walk it, and I will finish it. If this is what it takes for peace, I will do it. They began their journey at the forest edge, where the dense trees opened to a narrow valley. The ground rose sharply, leading to rocky cliffs and jagged stone paths. Smoke and heat rose from fissures in the ground, and the smell of sulfur filled the air. The caves of fire were close. The first challenge came almost immediately. A narrow path led between two cliffs, the edge crumbling and unstable. Below, rivers of molten rock flowed, glowing bright red. Vera stepped carefully, her spear at the ready. Ryan followed, his senses guiding him. Every loose stone, every crack in the path was visible to him. He moved with care, placing each step with precision. Halfway across, a tremor shook the path. Rocks shifted, and a small landslide sent stones sliding toward them. Ryan caught Vera's arm and pulled her back. Together they leapt to stable ground. She looked at him, eyes wide, then nodded. I see now why elders trust you, she said. The journey continued, growing harder with every step. Smoke rose from cracks in the ground, and heat made the air shimmer. Strange creatures of rock and fire scuttled along the cliffs, their glowing eyes watching. Ryan's body felt the strain, but he pushed forward. He could feel the bite still coursing inside him, giving him endurance and strength beyond his previous limits. By midday, they reached the entrance to the caves. The opening was black, deep, and foreboding. Heat radiated from within, and the sound of distant dripping echoed like whispers. Ryan paused, feeling the weight of the choice before him. Vera placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is where many turn back. Remember your choice. You can walk away, but if you do, your path ends here." Ryan looked at the cave. He could feel the challenge waiting inside. "I cannot turn back," he said. "Not now. Not after everything. I will face it whatever comes," Vera nodded. "Then we enter together." They stepped inside, their senses adjusting to darkness and heat. The air was thick, heavy, and smelled of molten stone. Shadows moved across the walls as their footsteps echoed. Strange carvings were etched into the stone, ancient symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the heat. The cave was alive, and it seemed to watch them. The first trial came in the form of the floor. A bridge of stone stretched across a pool of molten rock, but pieces were missing, leaving gaps wide enough to fall. Ryan stepped forward carefully, testing each stone with his foot before stepping. Vera followed his path, trusting his guidance. His enhanced reflexes allowed him to leap across spaces that would have been impossible for a normal human. Halfway across, a section of stone cracked beneath his feet. He caught himself with his hands swinging forward and pulling Vera to safety. She gave him a small nod, a silent sign of trust. They moved forward step by step until they reached solid ground. Next came the trial of vision. The cave split into multiple paths, each twisting and turning into darkness. Strange illusions played on the walls. Shadows seemed to move like creatures. Voices whispered, calling them to wrong paths. Ryan paused, closing his eyes for a moment. He breathed, listening to the natural rhythm of the cave. His enhanced senses guided him. He could feel the safe path beneath his feet. The solid rock, the steady flow of air. Step by step, he led them forward, ignoring the illusions that tried to mislead them. Hours passed inside the cave. Sweat poured from their bodies, heat pressing down like a weight. Yet neither Ryan nor Vera faltered. Finally, they reached a large chamber. Flames shot from cracks in the floor, and a river of molten rock ran across one side. At the center stood a pedestal, glowing faintly with a golden light. Ryan approached, feeling the pull of the light. It was warm, comforting, and seemed to speak directly to him. He reached out, hand trembling slightly, and touched it. Energy surged through him, stronger than ever. He felt the bite inside him respond, not as pain, but as connection. He was no longer just human. He was something more. Vera watched, her eyes wide. "It is done," she whispered. Ryan turned to her, breathing heavily. "It is not done until they see it, until the village knows what this means." Together they exited the caves, the heat fading as the forest returned. The villagers waited at the edge of the trees, tense and unsure. The hunter leader stood with arms crossed, his face unreadable. Ryan stepped forward, body strong, aura glowing faintly with the energy of the caves. He looked at every villager, seeing their fear, their hope, their doubt. Then he spoke. "I faced the trial. I endured the bite. I walked the path of fire and shadow. I am still human. But I'm more than I was. I came to protect, to help, and to honor life. If you see me as danger, I will leave. If you see me as ally, I will stay. The choice is yours, as it has always been mine." The crowd was silent. The elder stepped forward, his face calm. "You have walked the path no other has. You have endured the test of fire and shadow. You are not curse. You are bridge." The hunter leader looked at Ryan, then down at his feet. He spoke slowly, his voice low. Perhaps the human is not mistake. Perhaps strength can come in forms we do not understand." Vera stepped beside Ryan, her spear at her side. "We must choose unity," she said. "Not fear. He has proven it," the villagers murmured, then nodded. Slowly, the fear in their eyes began to fade. Respect replaced doubt. They came forward, offering gestures of welcome. Children approached him, curious but unafraid. Hunters lowered their weapons. The village had chosen. Ryan looked at the elder. "Then my path stays here," he said. "I will help protect. I will help unite. I will honor the choice of all." The elder smiled, silver fur gleaming. "Then peace begins and change begins. But remember, human, the path is long. You will face tests still. But today you have chosen, and we have chosen with you. Vera looked at him, her amber eyes warm for the first time. You survived the bite. You endured fire and shadow. You chose to stay. I once thought you prey. Now I see. You are equal. Ryan smiled faintly. Then I walk forward as equal, not as stranger. The sun set over the village that evening, painting the sky with colors brighter than any Rian had ever seen. Fires burned, children laughed, and the villagers worked together in harmony. The humans and Vulpine people were no longer divided by fear. The bite that had begun as attack had become the beginning of unity. Ryan stood with Vera on a hill overlooking the village. I never expected this, he said softly. She smiled. Neither did I, but you chose. That is what matters. He nodded, feeling the power of choice deep within him. The bite, the battles, the trials, they had led to this moment. Not as a human alone, not as prey, but as a bridge, a protector, and a choice made real. And for the first time since landing on the forested world, Ryan felt a sense of belonging. He had come as explorer. He would stay as ally. The village, the people, and even Vera were no longer unknown. They were home,